From the sunny Copenhagen, welcome to the webinar Motivating Both Supply and Demand for Energy Services, the Chilean case, hosted by the Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency. My name is Aris, I'm working as a program officer at the Copenhagen Center, and I will be the moderator for today's webinar. Couple of things before we move to the main content of our webinar. This webinar is going to be around 60 minutes long, including time for Q&A at the end. In case you cannot stay until the end or want to get back to our presentations, all the materials and the recording of the whole webinar will be available online in a few days. Now, before we start discussing about today's webinar, I would like to inform our attendees that we comply with the General Data Protection Act, also known as GDPR. Then this means that your personal data, such as name, email, workplace, etc., is safely processed and stored, and all of your rights pursuant to the GDPR are respected. You have full access to the data being processed about you, and at any time, you can request that inaccurate data be deleted or rectified. For access or further information, please contact with the people that are presented here. A few things about the Copenhagen Center. The Center conducts research and advisory activities in the field of energy efficiency and serves as energy efficiency hub for the Sustainable Energy for All initiative. The Center has an established network of global, regional, and national partners with a broad range of stakeholders to help accelerate the implementation of energy efficiency activities. On a regular basis, the global ESCO network will be conducting webinars. All materials, including recordings and presentations from previous webinars, can be found on Global ESCO Network Library under the webinar section. The material of today's webinar will be uploaded shortly, but until then, you can check the previous ones. Now, I would like to briefly introduce the speakers of today's webinar. Søren is working as senior economist at UNEP-BTU Partnership. He has a PhD in climate policy with experience from 10 years of service in the Danish Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Then, Juan is president of the National Energy Efficiency Association of Chile. He is civil industrial engineer with a bachelor in mechanical engineering. He has a master in science in industrial engineering and a master in philosophy and engineering for sustainable development from the University of Cambridge. He has 16 years of experience in Chile in the energy industry. And Monica is the CEO of the National Energy Efficiency Association of Chile since 2011. In the last years, she leads the Council of Civil Society for the Ministry of Energy, participates in different work tables for the development of human capital, mitigation and adaptation, carbon price, decarbonization, climate change. Finally, I would like to inform that you can send us your question during the presentation using the dedicated icon, and we will do our best to answer as many as we can at the end. Please do not forget to mention the name of the panelist that the question is for. And now, I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Søren. Søren, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Aris, and welcome to everybody for our webinar on the Chilean case. I will just provide a bit of context, framework for today's event by presenting the Global ESCO Network very briefly, which is a relatively new organization established last year. The vision of setting up the Global ESCO Network is to be the global driver and to inspire government actions for scaling up the contributions of ESCOs to the global response for mitigating the threat of climate change. That means we are putting the ESCO specifically in the context of emissions reduction. And that was what we thought when we established the Global ESCO Network. This is simply missing. There is not sufficient focus on the role that ESCOs can actually play in combating climate change. We aim to reinforce efforts of existing national and regional ESCO associations. We're happy to say that ANESCO in Chile was among our very first supporters and partners in this effort. In fact, we had an event in the COP 25 in Madrid last year as the very first event of the Global ESCO Network. And we've been collaborating ever since. We do work for the formal recognition of the ESCO sector as a pathway for countries to strengthen and achieve their nationally determined contributions to the NDCs under the Paris Agreement. That is where we see our main focus and our main role. Considering then the NDCs as the vehicle on which we could move the ESCOs into the climate change agenda. We will also this year start working with the finance sector and enter into partnerships with central financial institutions that have a significant role in supporting and underpinning ESCO's work. And finally, we aim to document the benefits of applying ESCO principles in business and policy development by mapping the framework conditions for ESCO operation. Now, in our work to support the ESCO placement in the NDC context, last year we published a book which aims to do exactly that. It contains 10 articles that from different perspectives focus on how ESCOs can contribute to NDCs. This book can be found on our webpage, but is also the basis for the presentations, the line of a series of webinars that we are hosting this year. Today's webinar is number 2 in that series of webinars. You see here, this is the first half until July that we had already one in March. This is our second, even though it's called webinar number 6. But this is our second webinar in this year's program, motivating both supply and demand for energy services in Chile. We, of course, would be very happy to bring you on board, to see you on board for future events as well. But for now, I would just move on with our event today and leave the floor to Juan and Monica. Check, please, our Global ESCO Network website or get in contact with me if you want to engage further. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ari and Søren, for the presentation. And I would like to start. Thank you, the Global ESCO Network, for this invitation and for the invitation to write this chapter for this book, because it gives us the opportunity to not just to know all the other experience, but to check what has been our history and to learn more about ourselves. So I'm going to talk for a while about the Chilean case for energy efficiency and specifically for ESCO. This is an article that we write between Monica and I. And I'm going to separate the presentation in 2 parts. Hopefully, it's not going to take too long. The first part is about the energy situation of Chile. It's very important to know where this industry born. And then I'm going to mention the big challenges that we have that, of course, perfectly link with the challenge of energy efficiency in our country. Well, first of all, who we are ANESCO. We are the Chilean Association for Companies in Energy Efficiency. We're about a little more than 30 members for quite a broad range of companies, from universities to energy suppliers, ESCO companies, of course, and equipment consulting. And as I said, it's important to start from the beginning. So I would like to show you Chile. We are in the southern part of South America. We are a very long and thin country. from north to south, you can see that is probably a little more than 4,000 kilometers. And but from east to west or west to east is in average no more than 200 kilometers. That means that they have a great range of weathers or climates in our country. For example, in the north, you can start with one of the driest desert, the Atacama Desert, and to the south, you get closer to the Arctic, and you have subarctic weathers. We have very clear natural borders. To the west and the south is the Pacific Ocean. You can miss it. And to the west is the mountain Andes. So that defines a lot our identity as a country. In fact, it's very important, and it's going to be, you will see that when we talk about energy, it will be very important that from the north to the, we will say to this part, to like not a little southern than in the middle, it's very easy to, it's quite very good connected. It's very easy to move. But from this big island here to the south, it's very complicated. It's fjords and the water is quite hard. You will see when we talk about energy, you will, that's very important to understand where is our infrastructure energetically. Well, I'm going to put Chile in horizontal. As you can guess, it's more easy to put it in a PowerPoint slide. And to understand demand and supply, the first thing is to go to population. We are roughly 80 million in Chile, but we are quite concentrated in the middle. You can see here that here's the capital, Santiago, where I am right now, where roughly 1/3 of the population live there. So you can guess that the main demand of energy, especially for transport, for background services, is there in the central part of Chile. Then in industry, and also for, as I said, with the weather change a lot from north to south, and we can roughly say that the heating requirements for populations start right from Santiago to the south, but from Santiago to the north, the weather is quite mild even during winter, so they don't use too much heating, or at least just a few days during the year. It's not tropical, remember that this is desert, by the way. So the night can be very, very cold. In demand, also in industry, we have the mining industry, especially in the north. It's a very big industry. There I put a picture of Chuquicamata, that is the bigger open pit mine in the world, copper. We're the first producer of copper in the world. Then in the central part, you have all the agriculture. I hope all you know the Chilean wine or the fruits or the vegetables. A little southern, you have the forestry industry that is very important, not only as a consumer, but also as a producer for energy purposes. And then a little southern, you have the fish industry, especially in this kind of salmon farms in sea, and even as the salmons grow up, they start in lakes and then goes to the sea. How we provide this demand? Well, we have several sources. The first would be our own or national crude production that is very small and fully concentrated in the farther south of Chile. And remember, as I said, it's very hard to move anything from the south to the central part where most of the consumption is. Then, so it's not very relevant, our national production. Then we have a refining infrastructure that is in the south and in the central part of Chile, where we can produce our own production of crude and mostly imported crude oil. Then we have 4 pipelines from Argentina for natural gas that used to be very important. Now, because some issues in Argentina, they have problems with the natural gas production. So the pipelines are not very not very used nowadays, but only during summer when they have some excess supply. So that's why we also have two LNG terminals to receive LNG, one in the central part of Chile and one in the north for the mining industry, especially for mining industry. And of course, we are a very dependent country on crude oil and its derivated as a source of supply. And we have terminals all over Chile just to receive for the several industry. From an electric point of view, what I present you is more fuel. Now, from electricity, we have also several sources. We used to have two systems, two main systems, I would say, one in the north and one in the central south part of Chile. And the southern system in Chile are very small and isolated system. But the main two ones nowadays are connected, so we have only one big system. The sources as we produce electricity for that system is hydro. There are several, and they're more important. One of the most important sources. Then Then we have thermal power plants, where it's the main source of we produce electricity with coal 35%, natural gas 18%. But on those years we have developed a very important renewable infrastructure. For example, in the north, in the desert, when we have a very good, one of the best solar resources in the world, we have developed a very important photovoltaic capacity. Get that in a few years have reached the level of the 10% of the electricity grid. That is very important. And in the south, but also in whole Chile, you can guess is in the coast. We have a very good wind resource. So aeolic becomes a very important supply as well. Let's put some numbers on this picture, so you can see how important is each one of these consumption and supply sectors. This is the national energy balance in teracalories. So I guess it is a good unit for everybody. These are the number for the year 2018, the last normal year. So I think it's okay for our purposes. And you can see that Chile is a system that requires as a primary energy of around 322,000 teracalories plus 82,000 teracalories that we import directly as a crude derivates. So we are talking about a little 420,000 teracalories to serve a total consumption of a little more than 300,000 teracalories, where you can see that industry is one of the main consumptions, especially mining industry is very intensive in energy. Then transport, especially for light vehicles and trucks. We move a lot of cargo by trucks. And then the other third is roughly the main one is for commercial and residential use. Let's take a more deeper look for the main components of this system. For example, crude. As I said, what we can say about crude and its derivated is, of course, one of our main fossil fuels. But in our case, almost all the crude oil and its derivatives are imported. Our production is very low, and as I say, most of it just keep in the south for local use. And of course, we don't use crude directly. We refine most of it in our one of these three refineries. 60% of the derivatives are produced in the country, and the other 40% is directly imported in one of the many terminals that you see in the previous slide. And this is quite important. If you go to the final consumption, you will see that we are a very dependent country in fossil fuels. Almost 57% of final consumption is in one way or another derivated of crude. So we are a very dependent country on an important fuel and fossil. In biomass is the second main source for our system. I should be happy to say that our second source is a renewable national producer energetic, but you will see in the middle of the presentation why I'm not very happy. But biomass, as I said, is 12% of the final consumption. Roughly the half of the biomass is used for electric generation, not directly as wood or as a pellet, but is a subproduct of the forestry industry, the pulp industry that produce these black liquors, and is used for the production of electricity. You can see that it's a very important energetic supply for electricity, but it's not that important as an output because it have a very low efficiency for production of electricity. And you can see also that when you go to, I will focus on the commercial and residential, it's very important. Almost 1/3 of the consumption in our residential commercial sector is from biomass. Mainly, almost I can say entirely is good for heating purposes or cooking. And sometimes the both things are the same because in a house when you have a kitchen with wood is also the source of heating and even hot water for showers. And the other important energetic that we have, another not very friendly source is coal. It's the third main source of energy for the country, but is used almost only as a fuel for the production of electricity. We are, of course, we're in a decarbonization plan. Steel is a very important energetic for electricity. Is the main source and also a very important part of our baseload capacity, just to handle the renewables and the variability of the renewables. And now, just to finish with the main things of the national energy balances, I would like to show you the electricity. Sorry, I forgot to translate electricidad, but I think that you can just guess that is electricity. It's a very important energetic, 22% of the final consumption, 1/3 of the commercial and residential sector, and as well as in industry. Our industry, the mining industry, especially for the grinding or the refining of the copper, is very intensive in electricity. Almost a non-existent energetic in transport. And it's very important because electricity have a double challenge. I think it's the same challenge that they have in the rest of the world, but the challenge is how we can introduce more renewables in our electricity our electricity system, and also how this system can provide more and more applications just to displace the fossil fuels or the more pollutant fuels. Well, I would like now to go through the challenges. Just I want to show you this big picture and just to give you some ideas. Some hints. As I say, we are a very dependent country in fossil fuels. We're very open to international market. As you see, most of the fuels and fossil fuels are imported, so we depend on what happens in the rest of the world. We can have a public policy about pricing the coal, the crude, because as we have every day to buy it from outside, we're totally open and we dependent and the price move very. I mean, they just follow all the international market. And in biomass, as you see, is very important. But now I will say that our first energy challenges have a lot to do with biomass. I mean, I think that if you are in the energetic market in Chile, the first things that you have to think when you wake up in the morning is which is the main issue in your market. And I think that for us, the main thing that have to come to our head in the morning is the pollution that we have. Really, we have a very important problems with pollution. As I put there, 7 of each 10 Chileans live below the contamination standard. Well, here in the upper right of the screen, you can see a picture of this is the Santiago, the capital, and you can see a very clear line in the pollution. That's why in Santiago the problem is quite important, because if you have been here in Santiago, you will see that we are surrounded by mountains. So the diffusion of pollution is very difficult. And besides, there is a weather effect that is like a cap that came and closed all the pollution in this valley. So that's why it's very clear the line, and that with the extreme density of the city that produce all this pollution. Now I have to say that the picture that I put here from Santiago is a picture from a very bad day. Usually you don't have this level of pollution. We have improved a lot, especially with very good public policies. For example, we have a very good standard for fuels. We have banned the burning of biomass for heating purposes, and also with the introduction of natural gas around 30 years ago, more or less. There in the bottom left, you can see a picture of Valdivia. There's a very beautiful city in the south of Chile, but as you can see, during winter they have a huge problem. And there the problem is not the valleys, not the mountains, not the weather effect, but the burning of biomass, especially wood, for heating purposes in the residential houses. And even in some industry, and even in some hospitals, we have seen. And the important things for energy, as I say, that the main source of pollution and in the center of the problems, there is an energetic use and low efficiency. The second energy challenges that I want to mention, I will just keep in 2 of them, not to run out of time, is that, of course, this is quite common for all the world, is the energy transition. As most of the developed or in developing countries, we are aiming to a carbon neutrality. We are working very hard on that, and we aiming to, as you can see there, nowadays we have emissions around 100 million tons per year, and we aiming to grow as an economy, but to produce only 65 million tons. There is roughly the amount that we can capture with a good forestry policy. But this is also a challenge, but a huge opportunity. As I showed you before, we are mainly a very dependent country in an import energetic. So if we can change from a fossil imported energetic to a national produced renewable and clean, we have a lot to win, and that's why we have taken very seriously the transition to net zero, because we have very good conditions, and we have and we want to be seen as a leader as a South American case. And of course, now if you see what we have today, our energy situation, which are our challenges, of course, the first things that have to come to your head, especially in a webinar in this association, is energy efficiency. And this is the hint to go to the second part of the presentation, that is our experience in energy efficiency. As I said, energy efficiency is not only the best option for our situation, but the first one. I mean, if we are able to use properly energy and to reduce the quantity, we can fulfill our goal to reduce pollution, to reduce dependency on fossil fuels, and to give a better standard. But so far, we can say that it haven't been the main focus, not in public policy, not in industrial management. It have very difficult to push energy efficiency as the main focus of our policy and management. Maybe because the focus is always more concentrated in produce more or on just growing. That's why we start almost 15 years ago. The first step for our association for we can say for public policies around energy efficiency in the year 2007. It was a program that was developed by the Inter-American Development Bank and Chilean Foundation, Fundación Chile, that start these clean energy programs. And the idea of the program was to show and the necessity to develop a market of energy efficiency solution and how to finance it. Of course, in those days they start to talk about ESCO models as a business model that can solve both situations, to promote energy efficiency and to finance it. On those days, 10 companies participate in this program. Most of them are still in our association, in ANESCO. Now in the year 2012, ANESCO is more formally is formed as an association, and our main focus was to show that energy efficiency works, because there were not too many examples, not either example of ESCO business examples. So our idea was to be the first one to promote, to show which are the best cases. Of course, we start with the low-hanging fruit to show that if you can change the lighting systems or that kind of project that can be easily replicated. And our second objective was to promote this kind of association. For example, the one that we have today with you, with the ESCO with the Global ESCO network, that is to create a network of partners to help us to solve this situation or the barriers for energy efficiency. Then in the year 2013, we work very, very close with the government. We work in a public-private roundtable. That the main point was to show that the ESCO model can be used in the public building. Not only the ESCO model, but even the energy efficiency solutions can work with the administratively, with the administration and the legal framework of the public administration. For example, just to say, it is a problem for energy efficiency when the office in charge of the auction of the building of a new hospital, it have nothing to do with the operational cost of the building. Then it's go to another ministry. So they say, okay, how can we save the situation? Just to put everything together to find the whole life of the project best option. That is of course with energy efficiency. And it was a very successful roundtable. We can show that legally and from a legal point of view, the ESCO model and the energy efficiency was easy to implement. Not easy, but it was able to be implemented in the public administration. In fact, there is one of a very important project. It's a small one. We're talking about an ESCO solution for a 80 kilowatts photovoltaic solar roof for a university. I say that it is small. Nowadays in Chile we have more than 80 megawatts of distributed projects, very close to this one. But nevertheless, this was the first one, and it's very important because it brings together three sectors: the private sector that supply the ESCO solution, a private customer, that in this case was a university, Universidad Andrés Bello, and also a public funding corporation that was Corfu, and that supplied the funds. Now, this shows that everything together work. That was very important. In fact, nowadays, ESCO model is quite used especially for more complex projects as hospitals. Until this year, more than 30 projects have been built and in hospitals and in other public buildings. We have a public-private agency in charge of management this program, the Agency for Sustainable Energy, formerly known as the Chilean Agency for Energy Efficiency. And well, we are very proud to say that our members have developed more than 80% of the programs in these projects for ESCO models in public buildings. Now, that's, well, the last thing that I want to show, and this is an upgrade from what we wrote in the book. Maybe we can, the next time we will add it, because in the report of Chile case, we were complaining that we didn't have an energy efficiency law, but happily now we have an energy efficiency law. It's what promulgated at the beginning of the year 2021. Well, when we wrote the report, we know that we of course we participate in the progress in the Congress, but it will take a very long time. It took more than 2 years, but nevertheless, we should stop complaining because we have the law, and it's I will say that it's a very good law, very broad, very comprehensive. It's a start. I will say the main issues of the law. We have the heart of the law is a national plan for energy efficiency. There is a 5-year plan that have been to be developed in a very open and transparent way. Then you have a chapter or an article for industry that will promote or force the main consumers of energy to have a energy management system and to implement energy efficiency measures. In buildings, this means that the new buildings will have to show energy efficiency level to the buyers. Public sector, they will have to work more deeply and to take very seriously the administration of public buildings or even all the administrative and public sector. And the last point is about transport, that we will implement some energy efficiency standards for new vehicles, and the importer of vehicles will have to fulfill it or to pay. Yeah, that's what I want to show about energy efficiency law. Okay, this is the last part. Just to talk a little more about the private sector. It's very important. I think I talked too much about the public one. The sales of energy efficiency products have grown quite good during the last year. Sorry that we were able to update this project the last years. But it's important just to show that we have grown. But as you in the diagram in the right, even if we have grown, the ESCO model haven't grown and haven't become too important, especially for private sector. It's only the 4% of our sales. and most than the 80% of the sales are just lump sum projects or totally finished, but not with any kind of beyond the warranty, of course, without any kind of relation with all the life of the project or with the savings or whatever. Why we I mean, we don't, but one of the university in Chile, the Universidad de Chile, they perform research in this industry, how deep they take the energy efficiency actions. And as you can see, almost 80% of the industry, they say that have take any kind of action or think about some action in energy efficiency. But from that 80%, only roughly the 40% have developed some kind of energy efficiency projects. And from that 40%, a little more than 30% had executed any kind of project in energy efficiency. And even in those energy efficiency projects, only the 25% has invested on them, or have made some kind of investment to develop energy efficient projects. So really, if you go to the bottom of the question, only 25% of the industry have developed projects in energy efficiency with really. And a second question that was, this is a question that we made to our members, which were the main barriers for ESCO model. Maybe this is quite common for all the people that is here in this webinar, but the first of all is knowledge. They don't know the model, they don't know the technologies. That's why they didn't choose to go forward with a ESCO model. And the second one is, I think, is the most well, it's the second, but it's very important. That is the priority that clients give to energy efficiency or to understand a new model. For them, simply they say, okay, I don't have the time. This is too complex. This is a different way to do the things, and don't have the time. I don't want to give explanation. So that could be something that we can solve with the law now. It will be forced. And the third barrier is, well, this is, I think, is quite common for everybody, is financing. To find the source of money for the project, to find a bank that understands the model ESCO, the ESCO model, to how to. For example, in our members, we have members that are very big companies, but most of our members are medium or small size companies, so they need a lot, they depend a lot on bankings or corporate funds to develop their projects. Well, I think that I am in time, and just want to finish with our main conclusions from this presentation. And in our history as ANESCO, we have gone through the main barriers against energy efficiency in the public and in the private sectors. In the public part, it has been very important to develop these public-private roundtables and to show that it's possible to flexibilize or to change the models of auction or building public projects to implement energy efficiency and ESCO models. In the private sector, it's very important to show our benefits, just to go through these two main barriers, as the knowledge barrier and the priority barriers. And it's very important to grow together, not only as an industry, but also as a public policy, especially to include energy efficiency in the long-term energy policy. Have been very important. The dimension of energy efficiency in these long-term policies, and also the creation of these public-private agencies have been very important to promote energy efficiency. Well, we already have. I have to change this conclusion for the article of our book. We already have energy efficiency legal framework, and we are completely sure that it's going to be essential for the fulfillment of our NDCs, especially aiming to the carbon neutrality in 2050. And of course, after we went through this crisis of coronavirus, we will be able to sustain a sustainable recovery. It's very important. Our main issue, I would say, as an association, right now is to develop the financing part. It's very important. It's going to be very important as how with these green finance schemes, or how the banks understand the ESCO models and are able to help us with the funding of this project according to the nature of the project. Of course, we don't want to be funding as any other project, but understanding the ESCO model as they have understand other very complex business model. Well, that was all. Thank you, everybody, to hear, and there you can find our contact if you want to contact us after this Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Juan, for the very thorough presentation. And now I would like to initiate the Q&A session, and I would like from our fellow speakers to activate the web camera. So welcome, everybody. It's nice to see everybody. And we received several questions. I'll start with you, Monica. The first question that we receive is, which role do you see as more important for an ESCO association? To promote general energy efficiency market creation, or to align the interests among ESCOs?
I think that both they come together. This is not possible to separate it. I think it's really important to create a culture. We need to show exactly what energy efficiency means, and ESCO models is just a way. It's a way, and an easy way to improve and to implement energy efficiency, especially today when we have such a crisis, and the companies need to recover faster as possible. So I don't think they're two separate ways.
Thank you very much. The next question we received is, I think, for you, Juan, and the question is, how is energy efficiency conceptualized in the overall Chilean picture?
Well, as I said in my presentation, I think it's haven't been the main focus, but it's where the main and shorter gains and the best ones are in energy efficiency. I really think that there's a lot to do, and I mean, it's very hard sometimes to promote energy efficiency because there's not just a big project, but several small small industries from a lot of several companies. I think that's why we haven't been in the focus, but in my experience in projects, it's easy to find companies that haven't done anything, and I mean companies that are not small companies, middle and even big side companies, that you can find energy efficiency around 30 to 40%, and that's going to be the only way that we can displace cheaper but more pollutant fuels as cheap biomass or coal, to hopefully some kind of renewable fuel. But that is, I mean, if you ask me, well, I am the president of ANESCO, so I have to say it is the main, the best choice, and hopefully we will, with this law, we will change the mind of the management of the companies. So they take energy efficiency as a priority, and they will soonly find out how important and how easily and how profitable it is.
Thank you very much, Juan, for your detailed response. The next question, I think the next question is for both of you, and the question goes, what is the most important piece of legislation in Chile for ESCOs that you are currently missing? Also, the question includes, I mean, do you have an energy efficiency law, for instance? But yeah, when we received the question, Juan, you still haven't mentioned anything about the energy efficiency law. So should I start with you, Monica?
If I understood, the energy efficiency law doesn't really talk about ESCO. Shame. But I think, yeah, we as association, we are trying to show that is a way, this is a tool to help many companies, especially medium companies, yeah, because maybe they are not really in the law exactly. That they are, yeah, they can follow of the bigger companies with the energy management system, for example. But for the major, the medium companies, this ESCO model can be really a solution to implement. But yeah, I will say it's something that we need to push much more that because it's not really in the law. We need to push it from the association.
Yes, I would like to well, first of all, I would like to support what Monica said. I completely agree. The one thing that I miss from the law, and sometimes I miss even from the everyday policies, is they don't support directly, or they don't see the potential of the ESCO model. I would like to see in the law a direct tool for the support of ESCO model. Even nowadays, for example, you see some kind of benefits that they say, okay, but it's benefits only if the consumer is the one who made the investment. And you say, but you take out of the middle the ESCO model, and then you have to start to create creative legal scheme work just to work as an ESCO. In the case that it should be a direct support scheme in the law, and hopefully we will find this direct scheme in the national plan. That's why I said the important thing is that we have a national plan there. We can improve in and to change every 5 years how we see the energy market. And the second thing that I miss from the law is, I will say, is the lack of aggressivity or optimism about energy efficiency. Is they say, okay, no, only a few percent of energy efficiency, when you know that it have a lot more potential. Even when in Chile we start to talk about our road to net to zero carbon footprint, they say, okay, in that case, energy efficiency is going to represent 7%. A very low number. See, it just simply don't. I don't understand it. If you go to the international report, they talk about 30, 40%, and even better than that is the first thing that you have to do. But I am optimist. I know that the law is the first stage, and the law is just a law. So if we can, as a market, to show that there's a lot more potential, it will happen the same thing that happened here with renewable. At the beginning, they say, okay, renewable, we only the electric system have to provide, I don't know, 10%. But then the market came and it showed that it was the most feasible technology, and we have 20% of renewable nowadays without a law. So hopefully our lack of aggressiveness in the law, we will be able to surpass it with the market.
Thank you, both of you. And now that we're talking about the energy efficiency law, I have another question. And the question goes, does the energy efficiency law have special provisions for ESCOs?
A specific no. As I said, there is a national plan where it's not wrote in stone, so we can change the scheme, and hopefully we'll find a way to create a plan or inside the plan for ESCO. We're working on that. We are in talks with the minister, of course, and hopefully we'll find a plan. And for the industrial sector, the only mention about a third part that have to get in the industry is just a mention that they say, okay, the energy management system have to be outdated from several years from a third part. But again, it don't mention explicitly the ESCO. Hopefully, with the management system, they will find out opportunities and find out who can help me, and there will be an opportunity for ESCO. But I mean, in the law, there's not explicit mention, but there's very good opportunities, of course.
I think just to complement, maybe there's some spaces also in industry and also in the public sector, because the plan says we need to do something in the public sectors. We need to make changes. So maybe it's a space for that and in the plan and for ESCOs. And I think, yeah, we are now in the time of making this plan, so we should make this pressure.
Thank you very much, both of you. The next question is for you, Søren, and the question that we receive is, how can I support your research on regulatory barriers for ESCOs?
Thanks for that question. We are this year trying to map or start mapping barriers to ESCO operation first of all, in the countries where we have ESCO associations. So we would like to work with our ESCO associations to identify those barriers and present those as a consolidated database, in fact, on our website, but also in the report format at the end of this year. Anyone who is interested in working with us in identifying those barriers are very welcome to drop me an email simply, and we'll see what we can do in terms of identifying those. It's not just as I said, we will be working with the ESCO associations where we have partners already. Don't hold back if you are in a country where we actually do have ESCO associations. You are very welcome to step forward anyway. You can find those ESCO associations on the map and on the Global ESCO Network website. So you can see where we are or where our partners are. But first and foremost, drop me a mail and let me know that you're interested in working on this particular issue. We will definitely appreciate your help.
Thanks, Søren. We're running out of time, but I have one last question. I hope you will still stay with me. The last question that we're going to say for today's webinar is, do you have any fiscal and or tax incentives to promote ESCO industry in Chile? And how much do you think energy efficiency can contribute to emission reduction in Chile? 2 questions.
Okay, there's some not fiscal or tax benefits directly for the moment. There are some benefits that are promoted mainly through this Agency for Sustainable Energy. From time to time, there are special benefit programs. As I said before, sometimes they are not directly for ESCO. You have to be creative to put the ESCO model in the middle. Well, we're creative, so we have done it. But they are, and we hopefully with this national plan, and we are talking with a group inside the national plan for energy efficiency, just to promote specifically ESCO. So we all the time goes directly to ESCO to say, no, forget about all the rest. I mean, there's all the rest of the market, but let's focus on the ESCO, have specific problems and barriers. Hopefully there will be more, but nowadays there are just few ones. And if you ask me about the potential, I think I don't think that could be any information that we should thought that is less than was international. I mean, less than 30. Why we will have less than 30% or 30 or 40% of energy efficiency contribution than the rest of the world? I mean, we don't have a very efficient industry, so maybe the potential is even bigger in Chile. And as I say, in my experience in direct projects, it's very easy to find 20 to 30% of efficiency. So I guess it's going to be roughly that number, around 30 to 40%. And surely as well that is for the long term. But in the short term, the potential is even bigger, because some of the main technologies to go to net zero are technologies in development. Here in Chile, we are talking a lot about hydrogen, but hydrogen is going to be important is a technology in development. But energy efficiency is already there. I mean, there's projects, so maybe in the long term is about 40%, but in the short term, I guess there is going to be 50 or to 60%.
So thank you very much. That was our last question. Thank you for the detailed responses to the questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, finally, we come to the end of the webinar. I would like to thank the panelists for the informative and interesting presentations, and to the audience for their active participation. We hope that the presentation will be beneficial for all stakeholders involved in energy efficiency. So thank you for your attention, and wish you a good day or night from Copenhagen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.